This is the AMEX, a simple-to-tie CDC dry fly. Having it as a member of your fly box will definitely have its privileges. We're going to tie it up. So grab a cup of chill as we sit back and go on the Vise with the FlyOlderGuy. And on the Vise we have a size 16 dry fly hook, standard size. And I'm going to load up the bobbin with some 8/0 in an olive. It's going to match the color I'm going for on the fly. Really, it just helps finish off that thread head, make it match. I'm going to start the thread back towards the back end of the hook right before the bend. Trim off the tag end. And what we're going to try to do here is we're going to dub up a little ball on the back right at the bend. So I'm just going to tighten up my loop a little bit. You got to try to keep that loop tight. Get in there right at the bend, and I'm going to get a little bit of this olive dubbing. And like I said, we're just going to make a tiny, tiny ball on the bend there, and that's going to help spread our tailing fibers out. So just dub that little bit on. Very tiny, tiny thin noodle. That's all you need. It's just a little ball. We'll wrap it right there at the start of the bend. Keep it nice and tight. Got a couple extra fuzzies. Just clear those extra fuzzies off. I think that's extra fuzzy. Still hanging. Look at that guy waving there. Get that guy. All right, we got him. We got him under control. So now we're going to move on to our tailing fibers. Now I like the CDL for this, the Côte de Lion. I think they have a more natural look than the synthetic tailing fibers. I'm going to grab, 6, 7 of them. I like to have it splayed out nicely back there. So in order to make it splay out nicely, I'm going to tie it in near that ball. So I'm measuring about half a hook shank for the tail. And again, tying it in right by that dubbing ball that we created. And with each wrap closer to the ball, it's going to help them splay out even more. And you can see I'm also tending them a little bit to straighten them out. I want to have them coming off straight off the hook shank. Checking them with each wrap. This is the part that probably takes the longest, or that you have the most focus on. It's a pretty simple fly to tie. And as you can see, each wrap towards that little dubbing ball makes them splay out. So now that they're nice, I'm just going to trim off those butt ends. And we'll cover them with a little bit of thread, not going crazy. And I'll just tie back a little bit, and then we'll start to dub up our body. Now for the dubbing, I'm using an olive dubbing. It's matching the thread. You could this would work in a sulfur, in a mahogany. It's just kind of like an all-around fly. It's got a real general purpose look to it, you'll see. So dubbing the body, I like to have a nice taper to it. So I take my time and get it dubbed nicely. It's really a fast enough fly to tie that taking an extra minute here and there to make it look a little nicer, a little cleaner, nothing wrong with that. So I am putting a little bit more dubbing on and building up the body of the fly. I'll dub back over a little bit, come forward, overlapping. I do just want to make it have a nice taper to it. Pull it down a little bit tighter there. Add a little bit more dubbing to go back over. Just, build up a nice taper up to the thorax section before I tie in the CDC. I try to get the noodles as thin as I can. Even as I wrap, I'm going to stop and tighten that noodle a little bit. But we're going back. We're just about there. Maybe a touch more dubbing on it. Let's see. Right, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. So I'll bring that thread forward. I'll put a little bit more dubbing on it. And then bring the thread forward. And about an eye length or so, maybe 2, is where I want to stop that dubbing and tie in the CDC wing. So we're coming up to the front. A little bit more of a thorax right there, and then just wrap it down with a little bit of thread. Now for the wing, we're going to use some CDC, and it's getting harder and harder to find good CDC, but when you find it, hold on to it. So you want to find 2 pieces. I'm using a natural dun. Got 2 pieces that are about the same, and you want to place them so that they're splayed out in opposite directions to make it look like a wing. And I put them together, and I'm just combing them together, kind of square it off a little bit. I'm going to measure about 1 shank length, and I'm going to pinch wrap them on right on top of that hook so that hopefully it'll help those feathers also separate a little bit more. Now once they're tied in with 2 or 3 wraps, sweep them back and I double it over and kind of lock it in like so with a little bit of a wrap over the wings. I feel like when you double it over, that makes it a little bit of a stronger wing. You can see the stem of the wing sits back, and it really is, once you trim it, it keeps it firmly sticking out the way you want. So I've dubbed a little bit more dubbing on the front here to build up a head. Looks pretty good. You want to cover that CDC base also. And then quite a few wraps around behind the eye to build up a little bit of a thread head. I'm going to grab the whip finish tool, come in and give it, usual 5-6 turn whip finish. And it does kind of help finish off the taper on the head with a little bit of a thread head. Trim the thread off, and then we're going to get to trimming up everything else. A little bit more of that thread sticking out of there. Get that thread out of there. All right, so sweep back that wing, pick it up, trim it off, and you can see it sits really nice. When you have it doubled over like that, it just has more of a firmer look to it. Trim off some loose fibers, give it a little spin. You can manipulate the wing a little bit, but it's looking really good. That profile is great. Look at that. Looking good. That's it. That's the AMEX. Don't leave home without it. In all seriousness, I tied the fly for the video. I went out the next day, and I caught a trout. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the tie. Until next time, stay fly.